Hopefully it will. I think Emma's going to join us. I've not seen her appear yet, so we'll look, manage the participants.
So you on your own then?
I am. We're just getting ready for a conference. So 9 of us all together. So I'll unmute us all and we can have a bit of a chat and then we'll get going. Hi folks, how are we doing today? Is anyone there?
Yeah, I'm there.
Hi Derek, how are you? Just unmute you. Is that Derek I hear?
Oh, can you hear me now?
I can. Can you hear us, Derek?
Yeah, I can hear you. No problem.
Fantastic. So we tend to find on these, Sarah, that some people stay muted throughout and just listen. Some people like to chip in. So hopefully what we will do is we'll get started shortly and then we'll take questions as we go along.
Okay.
Just make sure I've unmuted everyone. I'll resume the slide share. That's better. Hi Liam, how are you?
Good, thank you.
Good. Okay, we are about past, so I think we can make a start. Let's just get Sarah's picture up there for us. Okay, so good morning everyone and welcome to Managing the Millennials. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Can hear you. Fantastic. And can we all see Sarah on screen?
Yes.
Perfect.
Sorry about that.
Okay. So, very warm welcome. I'll introduce Sarah Cripps. Sarah is from Salad Skills, and Salad Skills are a specialist company that recruit apprentices and get funded for apprentices. So I'll hand over to Sarah if there's anything you'd like to say as a way of an introduction, Sarah.
That's pretty much basically it really. We're absolutely passionate about 2 things really, about recruiting apprentices, and we do that through strength-based techniques, and so we have a particular interest in the millennials obviously, and then we also offer a quality assurance service to all of our companies, so we make sure that we keep in touch with young people, and it means we get good feedback as well on how things are going and any suggestions for improvement in terms of their working and learning journey, really.
Fantastic. Now, this is the first one I've done, so I might be able to hopefully we can go from there. So, the purpose of today's session is to identify what we mean by the term millennials, because it's something that's banded around, and have a look at where it came from. There's a lot of myths surrounding millennials, and what we're wanting to do is try and break down some of those myths and that surround millennials and millennials in the workplace. Sarah will talk to us about how to recruit and the selection of millennials, because there's lots of things that we can do there, but there's also a lot of benefits that millennials can bring to your businesses, and we'll have a look at those as well. And we've also got a little bit in there about developing strategies for you to get the best out of your millennials. And then hopefully at the end we will have some time with Sarah to answer some questions. So does that sound like what we're looking for, folks? Fantastic. So I will mute everyone now. I'll leave it as we go from now. Okay. So Sarah, if you want to something as we go, that would be fantastic. So the official term for a millennial is those who were born in the noughties, the 7 to 18-year-olds. But generally, it now seems to be applied generically to all young people. Hi, Patrick. Sarah, any thoughts on that from you? Is that generally right what we're talking about there with millennials, or is there
there's a lot of crackling on the line.
Mm-hmm.
Let me try and mute everyone and let's see if that helps. I'll just leave Sarah on to speak and I'll unmute you. Okay, so I have muted you all. I will unmute Sarah so we can hear her, and hopefully we can go from there. There you go. Can you hear me now, Sarah?
That's so much better, yeah. So much better.
We'll keep it between the two of us, and then we'll add people in at the end. So, Sarah, am I right with what I've got on the screen there? Is that what?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, some people will say that they're also before that as well, but yeah, generally it's those sort of that were born just before the millennium. So the 1990s as well. Some surveys will include that age range, but yeah, definitely that's the category. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. And let's have a look what else we've got. Yeah, what I've done there, and I'll leave these in the slides, they're available afterwards. This is what Wikipedia says, and you know, obviously Wikipedia is always right. So there is a bit of a definition there about what Wikipedia says about them. And it's worth just a quick read if you're interested in a little bit more about that as we go. So these are some of the myths, talking to people out in industry that are associated with millennials. So people say that there's frustrations, that they're lazy, that they have to be told what to do, that they're always on the phone, they don't know how to talk, and I can't know how to spell on that one. Life is full of emojis and shorthand, and they have no common sense. Sarah, any thoughts on any of that?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting really because some of that is true, and it was interesting because there was some work carried out by Simon Sinek, and he said that parenting, that this whole the millennials, we've kind of made them and we've created them by the way they're parented, the technology, the environment they're in, and the fact that they're always on the phone is kind of linked to their world because of social media, and if they're not always on the phone, they have to have that phone with them, but equally it's with anything you have to. This is a myth because lots of criticism apart from the technology ones were also attributed to baby boomers and other generations. But yeah, some of it there is truth in.
Okay, we'll have a look at some of your research later, Sarah, because it doesn't quite, some of it is a little bit different to other research that's been done, isn't it? And that's what's quite interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so where have we gone to? Well, actually, there's a few thoughts there. So taking the young people coming into your offices, this is a whole new world to them. So let's try and look at it with their eyes on. They have probably never been in an office environment before. They've been in school, they've maybe been at university, they've been in college, but they've probably not been in an office environment before. So it's a bit like they have got to learn how things operate. And in line with that, think back to when your first day at work, they need to be told what to do. And sometimes it's a bit of a reality check for us, stepping back and just thinking about what they might need. Things like they're always on the phone. What's been found, and I'll look at Sarah for any support on this, is that they are very gregarious. They are very, very sociable people, and their interaction to friends is important. But also, we're living in an age now where you don't wait to phone someone. The contact with them is immediate. So you want an answer to someone, you send them a text. Well, we all do that. You want to talk to somebody quickly, you don't wait to get home to ring them. You can do things there and then. And the way to deal with that is things like having simple policies and guidance in place for them so they know what the rules are. And none of this is new stuff, and a lot of this is good for any officers and good for anybody in terms of taking on new starters of any age. Now, young people do tend to use shorthand, and in their speaking and in their text. And this is a different area. And again, you don't have to use it. If you don't want to use it, again, they need to know that. The other side of that is we're very good at using jargon and how we do things. Again, be careful about how you use that. So that goes two ways there. And the other thing is life experience. They see things differently and they haven't had the experiences that you have had in life. Anything there, Sarah, for you?
No, I think you said it already. It's all about communication, really. Yes, they will be used to having the phone with them. So if you just ask them to put the phone away, you don't take the phones to meetings and what have you, even if it's off. And it is that the key thing is that communication piece. In terms of sociable, yes, they used to technology helping them to be sociable, but also within the workplace, one of the things that you are almost teaching them as well is how to be sociable in a different way. that doesn't involve technology, and that's quite an exciting challenge really for an employer, and an easy one.
And is there some good ways to do that, Sarah?
Well, I think, you know, you do start with that communication, don't you, and explain that this isn't something, these are older people trying to say that technology is a bad thing. It's about encouraging them that they're going to be learning new skills, where literally if you're sat next to somebody, you will interact with them socially. And that sounds a very basic thing, but for a younger generation, it isn't. You know, you go to St Pancras Station, people are sitting next to each other with the phones and communicating that way. So if we're not, you know, so I quite like that part of it, where we're almost teaching a generation how it almost should be done, without, because we all have technology, we would all be lost without technology anyway. So I'm not saying I've cracked it, but yeah, I think communication and you know, the reasons why, and we're not dinosaurs.
Excellent, excellent. We can learn from them, I think, Sarah, as we go along, can't we?
Absolutely.
Okay. Now, what I've done is, don't forget, we've got a chat box there. So if there's any questions or thoughts that come up for Sarah as we go through this little session, please jot them down, because what we can do is we'll spend some time at the end entering them. So if you've got anything that's particularly happening for you in your workplace at the moment, or anything where you think, actually, I wouldn't mind an opinion on that, let's use this opportunity to pick Sarah's brains while we've got her with us. Okay. So, obviously, the first thing is the recruiting and selection of millennials. At some time in a growing practice, you will have to take on new people. But the first thing is think carefully. Do you need to recruit? How do you structure the work in your office? Can you make better use of the people that you've got in place? There will come a stage where you need to do that in order to move on, but it's just thinking carefully. The other thing is think carefully about what skills that you're going to need. So you don't always need another accountancy trainee. What skills do you need for your business? Do you need somebody who's got the marketing skills or business development skills to take you to where you need to go? It's about thinking carefully through what you need for your business. The other one to think about is your manpower planning. So this is about your succession planning. We all know that people will retire at some age. We all know that some people will leave your business as they go along. This is about you understanding what your manpower planning needs to look like for your sort of 5-year plan, your 7-year plan, and growing people into those roles. Now, when we talk about recruiting people, there's lots of different ways about going about that. We hear about it through agencies, we hear about people putting it on LinkedIn. I'm going to get Sarah to talk us through just a little bit about some of the principles there about how you can recruit and select the right millennials to your businesses. There's also a big market about apprentices and apprenticeships. So Sarah will say a little bit on that one. Let's look at Sarah now, because what we're going to ask Sarah to do, putting on the spot here, is maybe next year is do us a session about apprentices and about apprenticeships and about how that fits particularly into our profession as accountants, to see what we can do in terms of growing that. Sarah was saying there's been a lot of changes in that field. We won't have time to cover them today, but certainly going forwards, I'm sure there is something that we can do in terms of developing our skills and knowledge there. There's also something about assessment centres and the profiling and the things that sometimes fill some of us with dread about in the selection process. But we'll have a little look and we'll get Sarah to talk us through about how they can be used successfully. The importance of job descriptions and person specifications, and looking for ability and the ability to actually grow and develop. So anything you want to add to there, Sarah?
No. I mean, I've got a question really, because I don't know if anybody who's in with this group now have actually taken on apprentices is one thing, or secondly, whether they've been scared to, whether they think, the young, particularly 16 to 18-year-olds are not an age that they would consider taking on.
Okay, do you want some views on that, or should we get people to put their
if someone can chat and put that'd be quite interesting.
Okay, so any thoughts you've got on that in the chat box, and we'll get Sarah to go through them. We won't get any feedback on people's minds. We have got one question in there from Dion, which is quite interesting, so we'll pick that one up at the end. But if there's just anything there in terms of what Sarah said about recruiting, please just pop those down as we go down. There we go. We've got one from Michael Henn there. I'd take on any age.
Oh, pleased to hear it. Pleased to hear it, because it's interesting. Because sometimes, we get people who ask us to, and we have recruited quite a few apprentices who are for accountancy, but also, the business function roles that you alluded to, such as business admin and marketing and so on, and social media and digital marketing. And lots of people will say to us, oh, but please don't get me a 16 to 17-year-old. And we say, don't make that judgment. See the shortlists, interview them, because you can have some people who are have got more maturity about them at 16 than they have at 20. So that would be a big thing. But it doesn't sound like your people have got those preconceived ideas anyway. So that's great.
Yeah. Michael said there, I'm reading that, I know everyone can hopefully see it, but they need to be good with a good attitude. And I think that's really great. It's about the attitude. And that's something I think, can you pick that up when you're looking at assessment centres and profiling, Sarah?
Yeah. So when we do our assessment centres, we always do the psychometric profiling. It's just one tool. We don't base the judgments on that. But we also, because we do a range of aptitude tests that link to the job, we ask them about strength-based recruitment. So the questions about what they enjoyed at school, who inspires them, that kind of thing. It's regardless of age, really, if that makes sense.
And just remind me, what age do apprentices now go up to, Sarah? Because that's changed a little bit, hasn't it?
Well, the thing is, this is this is why the government's complicated, and probably why I'll happily help you do another webinar on it, because the government has made things complicated. Apprentices are apprentices that are new in post. And they actually, so long as they're 16, there's no upper age limit at all. And apprenticeships is the actual training that they'll do. So there's training for new apprentices or existing workforce. But we've had people who have applied and been successful for a vacancy. The oldest one, I think, was 39. She'd been a mum of 4, used to work as a PA in the NHS. Then wanted to go back into work and just wasn't getting shortlisted because she'd had a career gap because of bringing up the children. So she actually said, well, my only option now is to go for an apprenticeship, and she got it. So.
And has it worked well?
Yeah, definitely. So then she did her year apprenticeship and then got the post. So
again, that's another myth we bust, that apprentices are the sort of 16 to 18.
Very true.
That's really interesting. And I think you're right, Sarah, that's something we need to spend a bit more time about, because clearly there's a great workforce out there for people to be able to into. Now, there's some great questions coming in, but I'm going to hold those to the end, because we've got something about apprentices being off sick here. We've got something about people leaving the business, and I know we'll pick up some of that as we go. But keep your ideas and thoughts coming in, because I do want us to just spend a bit of time on them as we go down. Okay. So recruitment, we talk about using assessment centres, we talk about getting the right person. I guess that's the same with any age of any recruitment, isn't it, with that? And job description and person specifications, they're important.
Yeah, of course, but it's I think that people think that they have to treat apprentices completely different to an ordinary employee, and they don't. They go on the exact same apprenticeship contract, rather, so letter offer and contract and so on and so forth. The job description, though, the only thing it does differ is obviously you can't expect somebody to know something straight away. The job description would be about, they would train them to get to that point. So with an apprentice, you are absolutely recruiting on the ability to do something, but also it is about their attitude you're recruiting on, because you're there to teach them the skills, really. That said, in the person spec, sometimes it is it's good, so a lot of employers will put that having some kind of work experience or volunteering is beneficial. It's not always essential requirement, and you can't really put it's an essential, but it is often desirable, and you can actually tell those people who have done some wider volunteering or work experience. So yeah, it's just like an ordinary job description that you would expect them to aim to do, but understand that you do have to support them to get to that skill set point.
Yeah. So it's about having a journey with the apprentice or your millennial, isn't
it? Yeah.
Okay.
It's not taking on somebody for cheap labour, I think, is the key message, So some people think because the hourly rate, you can pay them, a lot less, at £3.50 an hour as a training wage for the first year. Some unscrupulous organisations will just take them on as saving on salary headcount.
Yeah, and again, this is something to think about with the millennials. This isn't just for us as within the accounting profession. This is something you might be talking to one of your businesses about in terms of how they're going to grow and structure their organisation going forward.
True, yeah.
Okay, I'm going to move on from that because I can see there's lots of questions coming in. That's absolutely fantastic. Sarah, I've got a little bit here where Sarah's going to really take it over as the sort of the running part of this. Just some general reflections there from Sarah. Sarah's done some research into millennials, and there's also been research done by Deloitte and various other companies in terms of how they found millennials. And Sarah's found some that actually supports it, some things that are different. But Sarah's also taken on an apprentice herself, so she can talk firsthand about how she's found it in the office. Also, any pitfalls and home goals, and this is what we learned from Sarah. She's like, I really wish I'd done this. And also, if there's any good news stories out there. So we've heard one, whilst not about a millennial as such, but about a 39-year-old mature mum going back into the workplace and actually taking the apprenticeship as a starting point. So I'll hand over to Sarah there. Anything you want to put in there? I think we've got the research on the next slide, so if you do want me to flip to those, Sarah, just give me a shout and I can do that for you.
Oh, okay, yeah. So just quickly, really. So basic on your general reflections. I mean, I love bits of bobs of research that comes out, but I'm also always wary that we have to see who's funded the research and etc. So the Deloitte one we're particularly interested in, and there's another one called the Ladder Report and the Green Survey. And their studies have always been across the age ranges, and they tend to be global. They tend to be across a wide range of vocational areas. So they are asking people regardless of their stage in life, really. So it could include postgrads, undergrads, and people who are in the workplace. And so we wanted to see if there was any, what correlations there were or not among apprentices. So with the apprentices that we've recruited, we issued those surveys out to them, key things that were important to us, really. So we wanted to find out, really, we know there's no such thing as a job for life, but why is that kind of thing, which is a whole another sociological argument. But we wanted to ask questions. Do they want to stay? Are they looking to go? Are they, because we don't want employers to invest in apprentices only for them after 12 months to go, and that's the whole tension. So that was quite important for us to find out. And apprentices are also accused of being narcissistic and wanting that instant gratification because technology allows them to, and so on and so forth. So in terms of, we literally just did a survey monkey questionnaire. I think it took them probably 10 minutes tops for them to complete. Most of them came back and responded. And what's interesting with that is that actually the apprentices that we interviewed had every intention of staying. They didn't want to leave. So it was complete opposite to what a lot of the surveys have said, where the surveys have said that they, after 2 years, they've got a time frame where they only want to stay with an organisation for 2 years. So that was quite a different thing as well. They also, the Deloitte's and other surveys said that they were being overlooked for learning and development or opportunities to contribute their ideas. Well, with the apprentices that we surveyed, they said that actually wasn't the case. They liked having input into it, so that was good. And then also, one big thing that came out as well, this again was the Deloitte survey, and they said that some flexibility was quite important to millennials in a job, but actually with apprentices it wasn't one of the least important aspects of it. So there were some surveys out there who say, you must be really flexible with the young people. They're kind of used to getting their own way and stuff, and that's not the case. They actually like structure, so because they're a human being in the workplace, so and then things that were agreed really is that and this was really interesting, given that apprentices are on a lower, in most organisations, on a lower rate. So most of the survey said that job fulfilment was more important than financial gain, and that was agreed with by our apprentices as well. So that was really interesting, because there's quite a lot of criticism sometimes at the government or organisations that are paying the 350 or just slightly above. the millennials also said they want to have a really open and honest relationship with their co-workers and managers. But then you have to take that cautiously as well, because I think any age would want that anyway. But again, we did ask the questions of the our apprentices within the millennial age range, and they agreed. And they actually, 65% of our apprentices were very lucky because they had a mentor, and they really valued having a mentor in the workplace. So that's a kind of top tip as well, really, I suppose. They also liked to be able to contribute for ideas for development beyond their apprenticeship, and they were given opportunities to do that. And the Deloitte survey said that work-life balance was really important before career progression, and 60% of our apprentices said yes, that was important to them too, work-life balance. And a high proportion of the Deloitte survey said that millennials were satisfied with the learning opportunities given to them, and as you would expect, our apprenticeships agreed with that too. So
great. So, and you found it, you've got your own apprentice. You introduced me to her last time she came on screen. And how's that going for you, Sarah?
Yeah, it's going really well. I absolutely, I love it. You know, I think it's great if you're the kind of person that gets, that likes developing people, and I've always been like that, then it's good in that sense. For a start, it's hard. The first month, I would say, is always the hardest for both the employer and the apprentice, as you get to know each other and they're getting to know the work culture. One thing I will say about young people, from my experience, is you never give them enough to do. You can think you've given them too much, but actually you haven't, unless I'm just more lenient. I don't know. But yeah, I'm pleased, really. Obviously, recruiting apprentices is what we do. So yeah, I'm pleased that we do advocate it.
Is it not like taking
the wrong business model?
Is it not like taking your daughter to work then, Sarah? Does it not feel a little bit like that sort of relationship, or is it very different?
I think it's kind of different to that, really, in a way. I think the difference with an apprentice and my relationship with my daughter is that my daughter would probably turn out and slam the door sometimes, but you don't get that with apprentice. No, you have that pastoral care element, definitely, and and it's great to see them develop, to be honest.
Fantastic. And any other pitfalls or home goals you can share with millennials that you think it's worth us just sharing with our members at the moment?
I think in terms of pitfalls, to be honest, I think it's being prepared. Preparation is key to get them on board, do a proper induction. What's worked for us as well, and we're learning as we go along, is that what's really important to us is that we try and give as broad experience as possible and open them up to the wider world, and not just with our organisation. So we've given Harriet the opportunity, because she's doing resourcing, so she's been given the opportunity to do a couple of days at a recruitment company that does more than apprenticeship, but they don't do apprenticeship recruitment. So to give her that, to see the other, the wider world out there. In a couple of weeks' time, she's going to be involved in some mock interviews at a local school, where she acts as the employer, to give the students, the pupils, an opportunity. So that would be nice for her to get some revenge, really. So they, in terms of home goals, they tend to work really well, really. Just think broader, how you can give them wider experience as well. It does massively work. And the one thing that we do as well, I think, in the first month, is to accept that they will be tired. And I think the beauty of having a small business is that you can be flexible with them. Whereas, we recruited some apprentices for Office Depot yesterday, and there's no way that they could let them come in late or let them leave early, because the policies, they've got all the discrimination and equality policies. So I think if you have got a small business, be prepared that they're going to be tight. They are. And I know that sounds really mumsy, and I'm quite strict, and, but that seems to work as well. I definitely do that. And I don't have it as a condition. I don't tell them. We just say, look, you've worked really well today, you can go. And then with them going as well, that also means you get time to catch up on stuff. So prepare yourself for pain in the first month. I think I saw a chat come up anyway that said people have got an apprentice already. So they probably agree with that anyway. So
yeah, we're going to have a look at some of those. But you've got a lot of good news stories there about millennials being in the workplace and actually what they've brought brought to the workplace, not just in terms of their development, but in terms of the skills they have added to workplace.
Absolutely. I mean, I started my career with apprentices really by accident in 2009. I was working with an NHS trust, and they asked if we could recruit apprentices for them. So, and I actually didn't think it would work. We scaled down a graduate recruitment program. I was really concerned about the calibre of candidates coming forward, and then from that moment was blown away and thought, this is what I want to do. That was my eureka career moment. So massively changed my career completely. And I'm seeing more and more apprentices of a higher calibre and quality in terms of attitude, not necessarily in terms of prior qualifications, but that is happening. Their English is going to be terrible on their application forms. That's one thing that personally drives me mad, but that's just the education system. And you've said it on the previous slide. They use text speak, they use emojis. You rarely do you see a capital I in an application form, but that's the world they're in, I guess. You can't really blame them for that. But
we can educate them out of that, though, can't we? In a workplace, you can educate them into how you write in business, how you want things doing in business.
Yeah, and maybe that's one of the pitfalls, really, that you do have to give those, but then you get the joy afterwards. I don't think they're encouraged at school necessarily, but I haven't done any research on this, so this is a sweeping statement, really, but they don't seem to be taught how to check work all the time. And that could just be, I don't know, like something, or I guess I don't know if it's linked to social media again or smartphones, but they'll send something and it'll go. So Harriet, we've taught Harriet that, and now she's brilliant. Absolutely everything she does, she will check and check. And we've taught that old saying that we were taught, that a carpenter measures twice and cuts once. So that's been a bit of a pain barrier we've gone through.
And that's interesting, Sarah, because one of the things we talk to our members doing is about systemising things and having structured ways for doing things. So, of course, that is great for an apprentice in terms of knowing how to do things, knowing what's expected of them. And
just don't send something out first time, read it and check it, But
yeah, that's a good point. Okay. So we talked about onboarding new people here, so millennials. So there's a few things there, and I'll run through what we've got on the slide there, and I think I'll just look to Sarah, because I know we've got quite a few questions in there to pick up. Things like having start dates, contracts and probation periods, clarity on who is managing, giving people a mixture of routine operations, so things to do with task-wise, but also giving them some projects. And again, if you've got interns, that's a great thing to do, and that will satisfy their curiosity for learning. Inductions into the workplace, walk people around, introduce them to people so they get a feeling for it, giving them learning objectives and thinking about, it's not just a case of learning how to do the job, what books can they read, what webinars can they watch, what online training can they do, and having regular reviews from them. Having clear policies in the workplace, and again, this is a really good opportunity when you take on somebody new, is to review what are your policies that people work to. Is there anything there that we need to change and grow? And again, across the organisation, looking at what learning opportunities you can develop with people. Anything you want to add to that, Sarah?
No, just an idea that came to mind, really. What we introduced was a learning log. So, a learning journal, really. So we give the apprentices a journal and just ask them to note down, put down things, because they will forget. So little things like, even the measure twice, measure twice, cut once, so write things down like that. Little things that are outside of their apprenticeship qualification that they've picked up along the way, things that have inspired them, things that we've taught them on the systems, just things like that. Just get them to encourage them really to write those down, because they're just things that once they become tacit knowledge, they might forget. But it also shows the journey that they've been on as well. Because sometimes, Harriet will say to us, well, I don't really feel like I'm learning much, but she's grown massively, and even confidence on the phone. You can see potential. You can see the potential in them, but they can't always see the potential in it themselves.
Okay,
so,
thanks, Sarah.
Even down to, how do I answer the phone? Write that down as well. Don't just assume that you've told them it and they'll take it on board, because in my experience, they don't. It's always best for that to get them to write it down, and not you just give loads of documents out.
Okay. So let's have a look at what we have next. So I've put this is what Sarah's taken you through there, but if you like the facts and figures, and again, I'll leave this slide in there These are all the research that you very kindly sent to us, Sarah. So I've put that in as a slide because I think it's just sometimes nice to have the figures. So I'll give people a moment or so to have a look at that. And then again, if there's anything there, I think actually I've got a question there, stick it in the box and we can pick that up at the end. But I'm certainly not going to read through it all. But there's some quite interesting things there in terms of what's important to young people and actually some of the myths of things that are important to them. Okay, we are coming towards the end where we're going to get some of your questions out there. But I've got a few thoughts and hints and tips that I've sort of picked up through talking with Sarah and through talking with other colleagues. But there's one thing to remember is taking on millennials into your business. They are the lifeblood of your organisation. They have a level of social awareness that is unknown to us. So they are very, very big in terms of ethical things, supporting charities. They're very, very big on things like that. So that's worth bringing that in. They are very social and media savvy. So again, we hear about them being on Twitter. I mean, my son told me the other day that Facebook was for old people. He's 10. And apparently I should be on Twitter and FaceTime. So there you go. If anybody knows what they are, I would love to hear more. But they can also have ideas, young people come into this, and they're worth listening to. So I would always be saying, well, why are we going to do that on Twitter? Well, actually, there is some merit in those ideas. The other thing is they are renowned for wanting to be part of a team. So whereas the 80s, it was very much about who could be the best in the team and who would be the leader of it, they see the benefits of being part of a team and actually how the team can achieve things together. So again, there's probably things there they can bring into organisations, and again, not within just your teams there, but also in the wider teams, things that your clients can learn from there. Any of those, Sarah, that are interesting to you?
No. I mean, they all are, to be honest, aren't they? You know, they are. It's it is about yeah, they do have a lot to offer as well as, you know, the concerns that you might have about bringing new people in. I mean, I always say as well, imagine what you were like when you were, you know, young, and you know, you were a good person. That might be a bad thing or not, but, you know, I think most of us, you know, we were pretty good people, and that's not changed really. Only they can teach you loads about technology. You're absolutely right. Yeah.
Okay. And a few strategies there for getting the most out of your millennials. I've just added these in, picking up from what Sarah said and picking up from others. So again, the clarity, what you want and what your business needs, learning how can you go and develop them, the office behaviour. This is a good opportunity to look back at it. Does it fit in with it? How does your feedback and review mechanisms learn? And, you know, lessons that you can learn in terms of your management of people, and again with your clients, how they can learn about their management of people through having young people in there with them. So I just want you to stop for a moment now, and I'm not going to run through all these as a head, but again, any comments of these that you can pop into the chat box might be useful. So thinking about your workplace, thinking about your team, your business, what can you do in order to provide structure? What can you do in order to provide any leadership and guidance? What can you do if you've got young people to encourage and support their can-do attitude? Because Sarah was saying they've got such a phenomenal brain for multitasking, probably bigger than we've ever had in our lifetime. What can we do to harness that? Is there anything you could do to take advantage of their team working skills if you've got young people in? What can you do to make sure that you're actually actively listening to them? Can you take advantage of their technical skills? Can you capitalise on their networking skills? I've been told, Sarah, they're really, really good at networking. Is there anything we can actually learn from them, and can we actually use them in that field? They also are known to like a fun, people-centred place of work. So we want work to be joy for people. Is there anything we can do in terms of, in general, to make that great for the people that are in our teams? Is it an opportunity to look at the work-life balance, and can we learn anything from them? So any thoughts there, any comments? I'd love you to pop those in the chat box as we go, and we'll have a look at those with Sarah. And that's the stage we get to where it really is over to Sarah now. So we've got a few in the chat box, so I'll pop those up and I will let Sarah address them as we go. And please add any to it as we go, because they just make a really, really interesting presentation for us all. So let's see what we've got. Okay. So we've got the first question came from Dion. Can you read that, Sarah, or do you need me to read that out for you?
No, I can't read it. No, unless that you can.
I can put the chat box up there for you. Okay, let's have a quick look and see if we can do anything with the chat.
Can I just say something while you're trying to find that
Of course you can,
facility to
Sarah.
let me see the chat? No, I think it's interesting as well. So, you know, on the previous slide, I think, and we do this as part of our recruitment process, so I'd recommend others to do that. So when you are thinking about if you're taking on an apprentice, or I know some of you have, or really with anybody, think about the way the work environment is, and don't be afraid to ask people either. So, for example, some young people prefer to work in a really quiet environment. They don't think that they all want to have this big, fun, people-centered environment. Some do, but some are more than happy to work in a quiet environment too. And it's asking, you know, as I've said before, don't be afraid to ask them what kind of environment they prefer in an open question, not closed. Else they'll just say yes to everything you want. But
okay. Well, the first question we've got in, and I will read it out, so I'm not sure what people can see, but hopefully you can hear me. So Dion Sherwood has said, it's interesting that you say millennials are always on the phone. I have two clients who have staff in sales, and they both struggle to encourage them to ring customers. They prefer to email them. Text is inappropriate. Even when the business has come in even when businesses come in as a result of direct telephone calls being made, they are still reluctant. What can we do to encourage the use of phone in what might be viewed as a slightly old-fashioned but effective means of sales?
I think for me that's a confidence issue, you know, and that's a training issue. And I mean that can be, if you think about young people, they're not used to the phone ring. You know, they don't have it is texting, and to be honest, you get older people. It's a personal bugbear of mine, really, that so much business is done by email, and I don't think you can build relationships on email. So I think it is literally, it is a comms and training thing, and they're probably scared and don't have the confidence to do it. And it's a case of, you know, that experience and practice will give them that experience.
Okay. And do you think anything in terms of having policies written down that actually we always respond to customers over the phone as opposed to sending them an email? Is it worth having sort of?
I'm not a personal fan of having, I wish we were in a world where you didn't have policies, but I definitely think there could be a written piece of communication or that says this is how we prefer to do things. But it's making sure if you are implementing that and there's more than just you as a one-man band, or there's more of you, that you actually all agree with that as well, that it isn't just something you decide to do just for the benefit of the apprentice because you think actually that's a good way forward. It has to be a whole company thing.
Yeah.
And that's that. But yeah, absolutely. Or even, you know, there's all sorts of ways to communicate it. We've got things on our board that have been printed out to say, you know, don't spend all day on the email kind of thing, you know, have a regular break because the emails will take over your life and you won't get anything done.
Okay. So that's a good point. And the other thing, I guess, is obviously look at where they're making the calls, you know, because when you don't always want to be overheard when you may be making calls because you feel a little bit conscious of them. Also, the equipment, I notice you've got your headset on there, Sarah, whereas I'm just sat talking to my laptop. Again, the equipment, it could be sort of getting them the right equipment to make calls somewhere quiet. Because if I'm making a difficult call, I'll always go down into the boardroom, I'll go somewhere just so I can concentrate on what I'm saying. So I guess it's looking at the environment there as well for Dion.
It is, you know, sometimes you might need an expert to come in. You might not be an expert cold caller or incoming caller yourself. So, you know, I mean, we said to Harriet, because she was scared to answer the phone, and no, don't let me do that. I'm terrified. And we just said to her, okay, when the phone rings, stand up. You're more powerful when you're standing up. So, you know, these things that you're taught. You know, if you asked to write a manual on the calls, you would say, I can't do that. But then things come back to you that you were told about. So yeah, things like that, like little top tips, you know, you're all part of a network. Ask questions of your network to share it and say, what advice and top tips can you give? There's a webinar for you, isn't there, Andrea?
Oh, thank you, Sarah. And I guess things like even ringing in and getting them used to talking on the phone, having business conversations, because it is very different, isn't it, in terms of that? Giving people some scripts and some ideas of what they might like to say could all work there. So I'll leave that one there, Dion, for you. If there's anything else, do pop it in the chat box for us and we'll come back to it. Now, the questions are coming thick and fast. We've got 5 waiting now. The next one is, I've currently got a 19-year-old apprentice, really good, but currently on sick leave for the last 5 weeks. Any thoughts there, Sarah?
Oh God, that's awful. That's all I can say. But it's hard to say. I mean, the questions are: do you genuinely think they're off sick? You know, and it could have been a regular employee that had gone on the sick. It's hard to say, really. I can't really.
Just follow it through as you would with any employee.
Yeah.
Staying in
Yeah.
contact if necessary.
A long time, yeah, no, absolutely. But yeah, I think that's something that obviously needs addressing in the same way as you would, because they've got the same employee rights. So.
Yeah. And I'm just thinking, if they've got an apprentice and they've got it through, somebody who set it up for them, I guess they might be able to help them if there's a problem there with the apprentice, or is there?
Well, yeah, I mean, if that happens, I mean, it rarely happens now, thank goodness. But it is the exception rather than the norm. Then we would look to see what we can do to intervene and just get hold of the apprentice separately and just to identify if there's any problems or not.
Okay,
but
so
it could be in case of sickness. You know, you have to be so careful, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely, and use the policies that are there and what you've got. Okay, I've got another one here. My fear is that if I employ youngish people and train them, they won't be there long term and they will leave me, and all my training to them is a loss for me.
Yeah, the common one. I love Richard Branson's phrase that says, train people well enough so that they can leave, but look after them so well that they'll stay. So I'm just going to quote that one, yeah. So it's a fear we all have. Sometimes, I mean, we know with Harriet, our apprentice, she's made it clear that she'd love to go and do Camp America in 2019. And because we've said to her, we'll keep her on afterwards. And I don't want to hold her back from doing that, but at least she's given us the notice to say, and she says she wants to come back. She might not want to come back. But yeah, it's a common fear of all of ours, but you can have it with other stuff, can't you? So.
Yeah, they could. At the other end of the scale, they could retire, I suppose, couldn't they?
Yeah,
okay,
I've got
another question here. They're coming in thick and fast. Is it reasonable for an apprentice to train a newer apprentice after they are bedded in before their year is up? So if you've got
say that again.
Can you use one apprentice? So, is it reasonable for the apprentice to train a newer apprentice after they are bedded in before their year is up?
I think that's fantastic. If it's a good apprentice, so long as you're doing it for the right reason, because if you think about if they're a similar age or they've certainly been in the same situation as being an apprentice, I would say they're going to learn more from them. I mean, that's definitely our plan with ours, is that even if they don't become their line manager, I mean, ideally you could then, you know, it's great for the CV, it's great for their management. I mean, you do need to give them some support and agree, you know, have to get agreement, but I think that's a lovely model.
Yeah, fantastic. And I've got a great one here from Dion Sherwood. I've delegated my IT problems. Matthew has the patience to look on the internet to find out solutions to problems which I don't have time for.
Yeah, I'm there. Yeah, that's great.
I'm up on that one.
Yeah.
I'm going to make a note of that one.
In fact, I like it when I say, oh, can you do this? And they'll say, no, I don't know how to do that. I'll go, great, I'm not as dim as I think. Or old.
Excellent. Okay, another one for Nigel here. I use outsourced services. Is it appropriate to have an apprentice as our first in-house team member?
I think the thing is, you need to make sure they're safe and you've got enough work for them to do. I mean, some businesses will come to us and say, you know, we can take on an apprentice, but we're not in the office half the time. That's not really appropriate. But then some people will take an 18-year on, so, you know, that's fine really. Once they've got embedded, they're an 18-year-old and they're mature, aren't they? So yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean,
and I'm just thinking back, Sarah, in terms of you talked about an apprentice and the 30-year-old now, mum of 4 coming back to work, which I think is a fantastic success story there. Do they always have to come back on a full-time basis, apprentices? Or say, for example, if she wanted 3 days a week and that fitted in with Nigel's office pattern, could something like that work?
A new apprentice has to do a minimum of 30 hours.
Right, okay.
Yeah, and a maximum, if they're under 18, you can only put them on a 40-hour contract maximum.
Okay, that's it.
As long as they do 30 hours, so yeah, you could do Monday to Thursday or spread the hours across the week. Most of them are 37.5, but yeah, you can do. Some you know, quite a few do 30 hours, and you do get the candidates through. So
yeah, so 30 hours, and if you got somebody even who's maybe a mum going back to work who could do a little bit more. There are possibilities in terms of actually working on that. If it's your first in-house person to work with, it's always worth exploring how you can make it work.
No, just don't discount any age, really. Yeah.
Yeah. Got a great one from Michael here, and I'm going to follow the thread down here. His first two were apprentices, and Nazguru said, did that work? And Nigel and Michael said it came with its challenges, but deal with them the best you can. One is my right-hand person at the company now.
Oh.
Lots of which Sarah says is spot on. It's about understanding and getting the most out of your team. So there you go. I think that's a great success story. And the final question comes from Liam. Do millennials have a preference for working in large or small organisations?
Do you know, and this is the danger with surveys and putting people in pigeonholes, isn't it, with millennials? It's all down to individuals. I mean, we do believe in, we advocate psychometric profiling as one thing, but some people prefer to work in small organisations and then others in big. I mean, I've got one now with one apprentice that we're placing. So she's gone for an assessment centre at a big financial management company that really are great with apprentices. And then she's gone to a company that's really young and funky, fantastic, groovy offices, and there's just two of them. She can't decide which one she wants. So sometimes they don't know what they want, you know. So again, I think the key message is don't make assumptions based on a particular age group. So the millennials, sometimes it's about the individual, and again, just asking them really.
Okay, thanks, Sarah. Thanks, Sarah. So I'm just going to give 30 seconds for any final questions that comes up. Thank you all so much for your questions. Thank you for those that came up in advance that we've managed to weave into the presentation. Hopefully Sarah is going to come online and do something for us in the next few months. So again, if there's anything you think you'd like to pick Sarah's brains about, let me know at ABN, and we will make sure that we pick those up when we have a chat with Sarah next. Sarah, just before I go to the final slide, is there anything else you would like to share with us about millennials or anything else?
No. Thank you for asking me to make comment, and I hope it's been useful. Really, I don't feel like an expert in any way, but it was good to share that experience really that we've had.
Well, I found it very, very useful, Sarah, and certainly I think just sitting here has changed some of my perceptions that are in my brain about millennials, so that's been really good. Oh, hang on, one more from Michael.
I can see that's popped up. Yeah, we're licensed to offer self-awareness psychometrics, so it's disc profiling, but it's purely on soft skills, so it's perfect for apprentices who won't necessarily have work experience.
Okay.
I see the thumbs up. Yeah, so I don't mind my email address going out or just route and questions through to Andrea.
Fantastic. Well, I will certainly do that. I will pop these slides and I will pop your email address on that. And likewise, anybody who's been online, if you want Sarah's details, I am more than happy to pass those on. Just in terms of what would Sarah do about this, or any thoughts?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Just to pick up with Sarah in future. Okay, I will just put that down there. And just let's do this. So it's a final thank you from me. So a very, very big thank you to Sarah for spending some time with us today. I found that incredibly valuable. A bit of a plea there. If you've enjoyed this session, please let the rest of the ABN community know. We'd love to see your thoughts on Facebook, just because I can share those with Sarah. It's the first time Sarah's ever done anything like this for anyone, so it's really nice if we can give that to Sarah as her feedback. Copies of this session will be made available on YouTube shortly, and Sarah will have a copy of that as well. We're passionate about getting these online training sessions to cover what you want. So if there's any other topics you think, I want to know more about marketing or digital marketing, come back and tell us, because we will fix up speakers who know more than we do in this area to help support us in that area. I have got one more question there, which has just popped up. So I'll just pick that there. And well done, Sarah. I think that's up there.
Oh, so, thank you, Michael.
I can see you and Michael getting on very well, Sarah. I can see that very well. So thank you all very, very much for your time. I'm looking forward to seeing all of you at our conference tomorrow. And our next online session is going to be in about a month's time. Please come and join us for that also. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you. Thanks. Bye, everybody.
Bye.